Internal Memo, May 8th, 2008, from CEO and Senior Editor-in-Chief Marcus Rhine to all red letter approved agents. Subject: Structure and Process of the End Times. I am sure that much of what I'm about to rehash is old hat to many of us, but due to attrition and replacement of red letter agents that have fallen in field work, I feel it is important to speak again of our structure and process. We must begin with the nature of our product and how it is produced. Make no mistake, though it is not fashioned in a factory, the news is a product. The story is shaped by people living their lives and a world outside of their control forcing them to make choices. But the nature of our business is that we are always in a position of reaction as the news is being produced. We are always trailing behind the story as it tries to run away from us. The story, or the event, is therefore the outermost element of our organization. Everything we do begins with the story. Stories are reported to us by witnesses, and in the more fortunate cases, survivors. We also glean stories from other news sources, such as the Associated Press, and from research our investigative reporters delve through. The research and investigative reporter are our front line, our hounds, if you will, in the chasing of the story. They compile their evidence in articles and present them to an editorial review board, which decides that the witnesses or information need more investigation. The ND has a vested interest in being sure that our information does not serve the purposes of some charlatan or snake oil salesman. If a piece passes editorial review, it then goes into print. All the above is what we would refer to as black letter journalism, and I'm not downplaying their importance to our enterprise. Not only is black letter work profitable, keeping the ND afloat, but it gives us the necessary veil for the ND's true work, that of the pursuit of truth. We have given the editorial board a list of directives that they use to help judge not only what the public is interested in viewing, but what stories require the attention of red letter agents. I know this can seem confusing to those outside of our organization, but that is the actual point. We often send black letter news crews to investigate Bigfoot sightings and those claiming to be UFO abductees, simply to confuse the various cults and governments that are interested in keeping humanity ignorant of the truth of the world. We do this so that our red letter agents have less to encumber their progress. Red letter agents are our elite reporters and researchers. They have all either survived an encounter with the murky world or have discovered it on their own. Our red letter agents are divided into four functions. First are the investigative reporters and teams. These are our reporters that we dispatch into dangerous assignments and deep field work. Theirs is the most dangerous branch of our service, and a peculiar mix of athleticism, journalistic instinct, and investigative acumen is needed. I truly wish I could say that there are retired field reporters from this branch, but we all know that there have been very few, and that the entire history of the Times, only one of our field agents has lived past 50. Even those that retire from the work and try to live quiet lives often met with accidents arranged by those whose sins they revealed when they were in active service. The second branch are our socialites, or fixers. These are the agents that arrange transport, information handling from sources that wish to remain anonymous, and sometimes cross the line into what spy novels would call espionage. Their contribution to our efforts is mostly seen in the facilitation of operative intelligence and contacts to our investigative teams. The third branch is our Operations and Resources Department, which governs the funding and supply of our investigators and business. I wish I could say that we spend... Well, let me rephrase that. I wish I could say that what we spent on finding and reporting the truth is profitable. But as you all have seen, it seldom is. I am, however, pleased to say that for the past 5 years, the End Times has been in the black, but I also acknowledge that this has been a rarity since the Great War and the dark plague that it released upon the world. The fourth branch is our private archival and research department and facility. This department is responsible for keeping safe the true record and facts of all that we have found, and works with other agencies of similar goals to safeguard any dangerous objects or specimens a reporter may find. Yes, you heard me correctly. We are not in this pursuit alone, but I shall not go into those agencies and their structure at this point, nor our relationship with them. We refer to our own archival space as the Yellow Room in honor of Mr. Pulitzer, and there are 3 grades of archivists, junior, senior, and chief, that handle the information. Though this work has a boredom and tedium to it, and field reporters often huff about having to constantly and regularly update the archivists while they're in the field, their work is vital, and honestly will likely outlive us all. Most of what we know, what we truly know about the murky world, resides in the Yellow Room. Now, all 4 of these branches receive assignments from a board of editors that are between them and the black letter editorial board. The red letter editors divvy out the assignments. However, the branches report to one another in a manner that is different and that helps guarantee operational security and prevents abuse of power by the board of editors or the board of the company, and of course, by individual agents that may have gone rogue. The first branch, investigations, reports to the 4th branch, archives. Thus, though they gain assignments from the red letter editorial board, investigative reporters tender their findings to the archives. The archivists in turn catalog the findings and send them as reports to the review process board, a rotating subset of 3 of the senior board members, who then update the field team with any new operating orders. The second branch, our socialites, receive assignments from the board of directors, of whom to influence and to gain intelligence from, and report it back to the board. The socialites are not in a position to broker deals themselves, but have considerable leeway when they can promise to secure information and intelligence. The board then parcels out information to the field teams as they feel are needed, and to the archives in full. The third branch, operations and resources, provides the board with information and funding. It has restrictions placed upon its function about how it can require funding, and is overseen by the board of directors to prevent any violations. The archive runs its own catalog of information and its own security service to prevent abuse by the other branches, with the CEO of the board of directors having the same access as the chief archivist. The board of directors is composed of former red letter agents that understand our commitment and commit themselves fully to the mission of the end times. The board's main duties are not only to maintain a profitable enterprise for black letter journalism, but to assure that all red letter matters are being handled correctly and ethically. The board has the power to issue special assignments to the first branch, investigations, so they can investigate not only events outside of the end times, but those internal matters that may occur inside of it. I am pleased to say that with the exception of the memes incident in 1955, the end times has been free of any internal corruption or compromising sources. Finally, the board's first power, and I realize that after all you may have done in the pursuit of truth that this can wear upon your soul, is the power to decide how much of a report shall be made public. It is a sad truth that much of what we have discovered would cause many in the world to become paranoid and violent with their fellow citizens. And lest you still believe that this is simply a tool of fascism, may I remind you what happened in Salem, Massachusetts between February 1692 and May 1693, when an 11-year-old girl claimed she was the victim of witchcraft? 20 innocent people were executed out of fear and ignorance. There are times when we must temper how the truth is presented, and times when we must wait before bringing all of it to print. I do not treasure this reality of our business either, but it is so. Hence why we archive everything we can, not report, out of fear of how the average man might do in his ignorance. And we look forward to the day when we can speak plainly and simply. But I encourage you to remember that even the Savior spoke in parables and symbols at times, and we know from the Gospels that there were some lessons he tailored specifically for certain disciples and not for others, and there were certain lessons he kept in confidence between a disciple and himself, and not to the whole. I am pleased to say that with the exception of the memes incident, the End Times has an almost spotless record, and I encourage you all to keep it so. Remember our fallen, what they fought for, and I thank you all for your continued pursuit I thank you all for your continued pursuit of Veritas, and hope that you continue to do so with Memo.